Hey, comic lovers, welcome back and Happy New Year. So, you may notice someone's missing here. The reason being that the old man's a little under the weather this week and he wasn't really feeling up to filming outside with Thor.
I'll be honest with you, if it doesn't get warm, it doesn't matter if I'm under the weather or not. That's just too cold.
Yeah. So, hopefully, he's feeling better next week and, maybe a little bit warmer next week. And we can film with Thor again. So, sorry we couldn't ring in the new year with him. All right.
He'll be all right.
Yeah. All right. So, what's going on this week? Well, we have new comics to review. We have, comic previews coming up, and also we are looking ahead to the new year and seeing what we have to look forward to. Also, I have a movie-ism for you, one that I'm pretty passionate about because of the material involved in it. All right. So, here's looking forward to the new year. This is Back Issues. All right, comic lovers. So before we get started today, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, turn on your notifications, give us a thumbs up, and if you like, leave us a comment. Let us know what you think of these comics, or you can give us some recommendations. All right, so before we get into it, just to tell you guys how we do this, in case you haven't been with us before, we grade our comics on a 5-shield rating system. We give it each 2 scores, one for writing and story, and the other one for artwork. And then we combine the 4 scores together and give it an average overall score. All right, so first we want to do our mentions this week. These are comics that we want to talk about, but they didn't make it into the top 3. Sometimes, maybe they just missed it, or maybe we have something negative to say about them. Yeah, that's why we say mentions, not honorable mentions. All right, but these two this week are actually positive. Okay. We don't have, anything terrible to say about any comics this week. So what do we have this week?
All right, first up, Wastelander, Star-Lord, #1. Marvel's doing a story arc of an alternate, or could be the real future, where all the bad guys got together and pretty much wiped out the good guys. Mm-hmm. And this one is Wastelanders, Star-Lord, #1. Now, it does take place before the conclusion to Old Man Quill #12.
Okay.
Now, we haven't read Old Man Quill, so we're not sure what other readers may have been already introduced to or not. So,
all right. So the ones before this were Wastelanders Wolverine and Wastelanders Hawkeye. Both of them were pretty good. Wastelanders Star-Lord was, hence is not in the top 3.
I'm not a big Star-Lord fan to begin with. So.
Well, first of all, the cover, as many covers are, I guess, was kind of misleading, and that Rocket does not appear in this comic. So you have old Rocket here next to him with a cane. That does not happen in this story. So Quill is back on Earth in this story, and he's driving through the wastelands, and he ends up at the Xavier Mansion for gifted youngsters. And apparently, Quill had a relationship with Kitty Pryde, which I did not know about. I don't know if that's canon or this is just for this story. But he's being haunted by ghosts of the past, and he is confronted by our old pal, the Shadow King. Now, I've never been the biggest fan of Shadow King just because his abilities are so, interpretive, depending on the writer and, what he can do. So, I guess I just don't like a villain you can't punch. So, anyways, Quill has to confront his ghost, both literally and figuratively. So the story was decent. The writing, the artwork, I would say, was slightly above average. I think we both gave it 3 for art. So I was tackling with a 4, but I ended up with a 3. So Wastelanders Star-Lord, one shot, part of the Wastelanders story arc, ended up with 3.5 shields out of 5.
Rounded up.
Next week is Wastelanders Doom, correct? Right. So, can't wait to see what they do with that. All right, next up.
It might be the last Wastelanders, I'm not sure. All right, next up from DC, we have DC versus Vampires number 3.
All right, so what's going on here? Well, this is one we've been following. We've really been enjoying this story.
Good story.
Yeah, the problem is that, and why it doesn't make it into the top 3 is the artwork. The artwork is kind of meh. So, in the story, Flash has just been killed in the previous issue. Now, the reason being, I thought it was kind of interesting the way they explained this, was he couldn't be turned into a vampire because the way Flash's metabolism works, if he were turned into a vampire, his bloodlust would, he would, just consume the entire planet, in a matter of probably days. And, it would be, the vampires would die themselves because they don't have any food left. So they couldn't turn him and they couldn't leave him alive, so they just had to kill him. So the heroes are being turned at a fairly alarming rate, and they don't even, they know there's a vampire threat out there, but they don't know who's being turned yet. And, it's happening, right out from under them. And, they need to wake up pretty soon.
They need to come up with a test like they did in John Carpenter's The Thing.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow that they could test everybody to find out, are you a vampire?
Yeah. So, in this issue, one of the Justice League's big guns gets turned. So, Dad and I were saying earlier, if they get Superman, it's all over.
Oh, yeah. If Superman gets turned, game over, done.
I don't know how Vampire's fangs are going to work on Superman's skin, but hopefully we're not going to find that out. So, like I said, the story is pretty great, and it would probably be in our top 3 every issue if the artwork were just a little bit better. So, DC versus Vampires number 3 ends up with 3.5 shields out of 5. Round it up. All right, so there's our mentions for this week. And now on to our top 3 for the week.
All right, as usual, there was a tie. Those of you who watch the channel won't be surprised. And this week, in order to settle who gets to pick which issue, the tie was for second and third. We played a rousing game of Pass the Pigs. A little thing where you roll the little pig dice, and if they come up a certain way, you score points. Well, I forgot the strategy, but I got lucky and I just rolled better than EMoney did, so I won. So if you don't like the order that number 2 and 3 come in, tough. Too bad. All right, so number 3, according to the old man, is Task Force Z, number 3 from DC Comics.
All right, so Task Force Z is a team that's a lot like Task Force X with one major difference. All of the members are dead. So Jason Todd, who is also dead,
was dead,
is leading the team. Now, the way they do it is the dead villains, heroes, whatever, are injected with Lazarus Pit resin, and they get back a portion of their former selves, depending on how much resin they give them, and they put them out on a mission. Well, Jason has convinced the powers that be that you need to give these guys more resin, because
you can't expect a zombie that has no mental capacity at all to perform. They're just gonna.
You don't give them enough resin, they're gonna. Jason's just babysitting a bunch of zombies.
Right. So you talked them into giving them enough resin so they were useful.
Yeah. So Deadshot returns in this issue. I don't remember how he died, but he did. So, he has enough of himself back that Jason and him form a bit of a working relationship. So, they put him out on this mission, and the thing that put this over the top for me, that got into the top 3, I think, was Bane is also a part of the team. And you might remember Bane was killed in the City of Bane storyline in Batman. So, Bane talks to Jason and says, thanks for convincing him to give us more resin. And Jason's like, so you, it's really you in there? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, so you have all your old memories back? Like, it's in fractions, but most of it, yeah. He's like, good. And then Jason does something to old Bane that I found to be extremely satisfying. because in the City of Bane, you might remember, Bane kills Alfred Pennyworth.
And if there's anybody in the Bat family that Jason was really close to, it was Alfred.
Yeah. So, Bane thought that Jason was just going to forget that. He had another thing coming.
No, he did not.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
So then, at the end of the issue, you discover the benefactor of the Task Force Z team, and I was surprised. Like, I did not think that this character was that type of guy. So, pretty great story. Artwork solid as well. Task Force Z number 3, our number 3 pick for this week, ends up with 4 shields out of 5.
Now,
All right, next up.
Timeless is a Kang story that Marvel developed in order to just kind of close out the year. That this is their end of the year book. It's a one-shot, and it's pretty good. Timeless number 1 from Marvel.
All right, so in this issue, it starts off with a professor, Dr. Petrov, and his journal entries talking about Kang. Now, Professor Petrov is a professor specializing in superhero and supervillain lore. And he also has an academic admiration for Doom above most of his other subjects. So Kang pays him a visit and tells him that he wants to talk to him, and he's read a lot of his work. In fact, he's
work that hasn't even been published yet.
He hasn't published it yet, but Kang's a time traveler. So he says, I see that you have a big admiration for Doom, and supervillains and their egos, right? So Petrov asks the obvious question that in this situation you probably ask, are you here to kill me? And he says, nope, I'm here to change your mind. So he takes Petrov with him on his time travel adventures, and he...
A little walkabout.
Yeah, and he goes through different time periods in which Kang has set up shop in different periods. And the dialogue between Kang and Petrov is just kind of amazing.
Yeah, it was perfect.
A exploration of Kang's legacy, his demeanor, his personality. All of that is explored in these conversations they have together. So, Kang discovers a rogue timeline is kind of collapsing in on the main one, and he feels he has to stop it, not for, altruistic, heroic reasons, but more because it inconveniences him. So, he has to stop the rogue timeline, and he thinks he knows who's behind it, but when he confronts the rogue time traveler, it turns out to be someone else, someone he wasn't expecting. So that in itself was pretty interesting. So writing was pretty amazing in here, and we both gave it solid scores. Artwork also solid. Ends up with 4 shields out of 5. Highly recommend for this one-shot Timeless from Marvel.
All right. Ready for the number 1 spot?
Yep. Let's get to the number 1.
In number 1 from Marvel, it's part of a 6-issue miniseries called Devil's Reign. This is number 2.
All right. So, Mayor Fisk has outlawed superheroism in New York, similar to the Superhero Registration Act, only it's just in New York, which, as we know, is where most of Marvel's heroes operate.
Yeah, but if you just limit it to one city, you're going to fail.
So, and everyone is telling Fisk, he's being stupid. Elektra even confronts him in his office, saying, Fisk, what the hell are you doing? Like, you're basically poking the gods. Here is pretty much what's happening. But not to say his efforts are all for naught. He's deputized a number of supervillains as part of his Thunderbolts team. And he's already imprisoned Reed Richards and Sue Storm in a superhuman prison. And also he has sent Taskmaster to confront Spider-Man. Now, in one scene, the heroes, a lot of them have banded together and are on the lam together. and they end up at the old Avengers mansion. And a couple of teenagers are hanging out near the mansion, and they spot Tony Stark, and they snap a picture of him. And Tony's like, look, guys, I need to lay low here, official Avengers business, so how about I give you $1,000 for that picture? Now, eventually, Luke Cage talks the kids out of it. But I'm sorry, I mean, I don't know exactly what I do in that situation, but I feel like I might have to extort some money out of Tony here.
$1,000?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pro superhero, of course, and, you know, pro Tony and Cap and everything. But, you know, opportunity like that only comes up like once in a lifetime. And I know Tony's loaded, so I don't know. I might have to negotiate there. But the story is pretty great, amazing stuff. And, you know, this is the point in the story, and, you know, any story arc like this where the heroes are losing and they're disorganized and being attacked. So
Well, that'll last a couple more issues.
yeah, so, you know, you're ready for them to formulate a plan here. And this is only 2 out of 6, so I guess we have you know, get worse before it gets better situation.
All right. I mean, to me to be happy, Fisk has to be removed from office.
Yep. So, Devil's Reign, 2 out of 6, our number 1 pick for this week, with 4.5 shields out of 5.
That's correct.
That's a score that we don't give out very often.
No, that's rare.
Yeah. All right, so here's our top picks for last week's issues. So pick them up at your local comic book shop if you haven't already. All right, so what do we have going on for this week?
All right. This week we have the typical array of Bat books. You've got Batman 119, Detective 1047, The Joker Presents a Puzzle Box number 6. You got the Dark Knights of Steel number
Okay.
3, that imaginary story.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're all imaginary, but go on.
No. Don't know what you're talking about. Unlike this last week, there's a lot of small press books coming out that we read. Hellcop number 3, Noctera, Blacktop Bill Special number 1, Two Moons number 8, Evil Ernie number 2, and Not All Robots number 5.
Okay.
And for Marvel, of course, we've mentioned Wastelander, Doom, but you also have Thor number 20 coming out.
All right, some stiff competition for this week.
Yeah, there's a lot of books.
All right, so normally this is the part where we head back up into the garage with Thor, but let's just transition into the movie-ism. All right, comic lovers, so it's time for this week's movie-ism. All right, so this one is one that the old man and I are both kind of passionate about, and because, you know, it makes us so angry sometimes. This is what I call writing a check you can't cash, or the washout. Now, what does that mean? This is a movie with a lot of suspense and build-up leading up to the big climax, and then the ending is completely anticlimactic. Now, examples of this. Well, let's do a comic book example for starters. Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. So, you know, the big, you know, globulous giant cloud that is Galactus in that movie, it's about to envelop the Earth. And then Silver Surfer just flies up to him and says, "I will no longer serve you." And then he kind of explodes into Galactus, and that's it. That's it.
I mean, he basically flies up there and goes, "No."
Yeah. I mean, in the comic books, they explain that Silver Surfer, you know, first of all, he's given his power by Galactus, which is true in the movie too, but it's a fraction. There's a small fraction of his power. Yeah. And, you know, he uses that power to pretty much kill Galactus. Like, how the hell does that work?
It doesn't.
In the comic, it would barely nick him if he did that.
I mean, I actually like the way they resolve the first appearance in the Marvel Universe when Galactus shows up, and Reed just whips out the ultimate nullifier and says, "I'll use this." He's bluffing. It's nothing.
Yeah.
It won't do anything. But Galactus, not thinking that somebody would try to bluff him, falls for it and says, "All right, I'm out." I mean, that's more believable than the movie ending was.
I mean, all the planning and the struggle throughout the movie, and, you know, trying to you know, fight against Galactus and the, you know, the coming doom, you know, no pun intended, and all that, and just, you know, Silver Surfer's like, nope. So,
Yep. Hated it.
yeah. All right, so what's some other examples of their check you can't cash? Well, comedic one, Shrek the Third. In this movie, yeah, so in this movie, the big build-up is pretty much all of the characters in the movie, I'm talking like all of them, gather for this big standoff between the heroes and the villains.
It's gonna be a slobber knocker.
And Shrek and Fiona and Donkey, they're all joined up by their fairy tale friends, Pinocchio, the three pigs, the blind mice. All of them are like, hoo-yah!
Yep, they're ready to throw down.
Yep. And then Shrek just ends up talking the bad guys down. And everyone's like, oh, okay.
It wasn't even an inspiring speech.
No. Like, all right, I guess we're not doing this. Let's go home. And it's like they could have done so much fun stuff with that fight scene.
I remember leaving the theater like, what the hell?
Yeah. So there's one. Another one, and you and I might have been the only ones who saw this movie, Jack the Giant Slayer. So now there was some fun stuff leading up to the washout moment. I mean,
Sure, it was a good movie until the end.
yeah, we had some decent battle scenes where they're defending the castle from the oncoming giants, and they load up the crossbow bolts on the wall and are shooting at them, and the giants are trying to get the drawbridge open, and they're climbing over the wall and everything. But then Jack puts on the magic crown, and again he's like, "No, all right, all you giants, go home.
Turn around.
Yeah,
Go back up.
yeah, we're not doing this. Go away. No big last stand or final battle. Just go away." Total bullshit.
It sucked.
All right. Next example, and this is one that I know sticks in your craw. The ending to Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End.
Oh, man.
So
we had the gathering of two of the largest fleets, two of the largest armadas from that era, squaring up to throw down.
Yep.
I mean, they're going to just blow the hell out of each other. No.
Yep. So, big standoff between the two fleets, and so much potential there.
I thought it was going to be the biggest sea battle ever.
Mm-hmm. And then a total of 3 ships took part in the battle.
And it wasn't even so much of a sea battle.
No. I mean, most of it was, swinging across each other, sword fighting battle.
Which is cool, but not when you got a couple hundred ships waiting to throw down.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
I mean, if you were going to do that, then you shouldn't have done the whole fleet thing. All right, so another example. I have like 14 examples here, but let's do one last one. Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Actually, I'm going to do 2 more. This one and another one. Monty Python and the Holy Grail. So the knights are ready to attack the French castle to try to find the Holy Grail, which is the whole point of the movie. Monty Python and the Holy Grail. And then the police pull up and throw them all in the paddy wagon. Now, my understanding was that they ran out of budget and they just had to end the movie pretty abruptly. I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, it sounds like something that could happen in Monty Python fashion, but it was very disappointing. I mean, I was entertained for most of the movie. It was a fun, Monty Python film, but the ending just made me angry. All right, so last one, promise. The War of the Worlds.
This one bothers you a lot more than me.
I mean, no hate directed at Tom Cruise and Steven Spielberg because they did it exactly the way what's his name did it in the.
The book was written. It was the way the radio broadcast ended.
Mm-hmm. But the human race is fighting a losing battle against the alien invaders, and they're beating us at every front, and it goes on for a while, and then all of a sudden, all of the aliens are just kind of falling over dead. And it turns out the aliens, they did not have the immunity to diseases on Earth the way we did. Generations of build up immunity and vaccines and all that stuff, gave us immunity to all the diseases on Earth, and the aliens, having not done all that, as soon as they stepped foot on Earth, they were infected with everything that Earth has to offer, and eventually just fell over dead.
If it happened now, we'd hit them with the COVID.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess that's the only way that could have ended, unless we, got better technology really quick.
By the way, every 50 science fiction movie ended. Come up with some new technology to kick their ass with.
Yeah. So there it is, the check you can't cash or the washout. All right, so unfortunately I don't get to do a doggy challenge with Thor this week, but hopefully, yeah, I always enjoy those.
He never does what he's supposed to do anyway.
I mean, it's it depends on
When you barked at him that time, I saw in his eyes he was ready to eat your face off.
No, he wasn't. All right. So what do we have going on for next week? Well, next week we have more movie review, or not movie reviews. We have comic reviews and previews, and hopefully Thor will be back with us. But hey, let's take a look at what we have coming up for the new year. A lot of cool stuff coming out this year. A lot of new movies and TV shows. So later this month, Morbius is out.
Is he in the MCU or not?
We'll see. We'll see.
We don't know.
And this is going to round out the 5-month run of having a new Marvel movie every month. So pretty cool run we've had. So Morbius, in March we have the Batman coming out. Looking forward to that. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness in May, which is going to kick off our summer movie season.
God knows what they're going to do in that one.
I mean, there's all kinds of speculation as to what they're going to do. I mean, after what they did with...
I'm not going to speculate.
After what they did with No Way Home, it's like... they have the rights now to so many different things that they haven't done yet. So, could be anything. Then we have, we have Thor, Love and Thunder in July. Black Adam also in July. We have The Flash coming out in November. Aquaman in December. So, the whole year is pretty packed. Also, TV shows for Disney Plus. We have Secret Invasion, Ms. Marvel, She-Hulk, and Moon Knight, all coming out this year. Also, speaking of Disney Plus and our reaction videos, the Book of Boba Fett.
That's not really the name of the show, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, no, it's The Adventures of Wiggly and Piggly.
Oh, okay. The Gamorrean characters.
Wiggly and Piggly. They're the heroes of the whole thing.
Okay. So we gave our reaction video for the first episode last week, and then later today we will have our second episode. So at the time you watch this, it should already be out on Disney Plus. So watch the show and then watch our reaction video coming out.
Don't do it the other way around. That would make no sense.
Yeah, that would be like, why did you do that? All right, so pretty jam-packed year coming up. Looking forward to everything. So hopefully you guys are looking forward to it as well. And we will see you next week. Excelsior.
True believers, did you make any crazy New Year's resolutions? If you did, let us know.